Our first plenary speaker for today, during the second plenary session of World Lumen Congress, is Professor PhD Mehmet ŞAHİN from the Faculty of Education, Mersin University from Mersin, Turkey. And our second speaker for today is Dr. Lukas VALEK from the Department of Entrepreneurship, Faculty of Business Administration, Prague University of Economics and Business, Czech Republic. To start with, Professor Mehmet ŞAHİN, please, you can begin your presentation. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude to the organizers of this conference and the team working there at the desk now. And my presentation is about connectivism. It is just related with the situation we are here in it now, because we are face-to-face or not. For me, we are not face-to-face now. It is not an organic and natural being of face-to-face, but we are digitally face-to-face, and this is a property or characteristic of being connected or connectivism. And it is the digital improvement or advancement of the century. That means the 21st century, when we are living in this connected and digitalized world. My presentation is about connectivism and is it a learning theory or not? The discussion is about this. First of all, we must remember that we can appreciate or we can prize or criticize a theory depending on the conditions where they are asserted. So first of all, I must mention some shifts from the beginning to the present time. The first shift is from the centralized world or centralized power to decentralization. The decentralization has been a dominant point in our century, especially the decentralization of power, the centralization of, let's say, economy, and decentralization of, let's say, education and curriculum and etc. And also the mass production and the masses going to the, for example, the shopping centers or schools are not going just now because what they need is distributed from the center to the individuals. So this is the age of distribution also, and the individuals are provided with what they need in the place where they are living. And of course, this pandemic period helped this way very much, and individuals are more individual because of that pandemic now. And many times, as you know, they are locked in as individuals. And the second shift is about the understanding and definition of learning. What is learning and what is knowledge? It shifted from, for example, behavioristic approach to cognitive approach, and from cognitive approach to connectivism. And as you know, the 20th century was known as the century of knowledge, because knowledge was the focus point at this century. But finally, they recognized that knowledge is nothing if it is not turned into action. So the 21st century was a focus shift from knowledge to skills. And nowadays, in education, skills are emphasized more intensively than knowledge. So in our century, skill-based institutions are in demand. That's why. And the second question was this: knowledge, okay, but knowledge is independent of human being That means, is it objective or subjective? So at the beginning, with regard to learning, knowledge was defined as an objective entity. So they taught knowledge independent of human beings, and they tried to be objective. Then another shift happened, and they recognized that knowledge cannot be that means cannot occur, cannot be formed and constructed independent of human mind. So there is a shift from being objective knowledge to subjective. So the learning theories changed according to these shifts, and behavioristic approach, that means, let's say, classical conditioning or operant conditioning. These were, as you know, the learning theories based on behavior and behavioristic approach. And they did not differentiate between human beings and animals. They all were put under organisms. And the focus was on the behavior only, not on the cognition or the mind. That's why they called it black box, because what was happening in the mind was not their concern. Then cognitive approach came, and especially German psychologists emphasized the role of cognition in the behavior. Let's say Kafka, Köhler, Wertheimer, and other philosophers changed the question, and they asked the question, how do human beings perceive? So they emphasized the role of perception of human beings, and the question was mainly on they perceive the reality as a whole, or they perceive the reality in parts. And two methods appeared from this approach, deductive and inductive, as you know. And remembering, forgetting, knowing, all these were, as you know, abstract concepts for the psychologists, and they tried to discuss such concepts in an abstract manner. So the question was this: now the learning is concrete or abstract. So the shift from concrete learning to abstraction became popular later. And this was called, after this cognition, there was another approach. It was subjectivist approach, because the human being as an individual was the focus, and they tried to explain learning within the cognition of each individual. So human brain, human learning as an individual has been in the focus. And from this approach, we have social learning theory, observational learning, or modeling, or imitation. All these are related to human mind, about retention, reproduction, motivation, attention. All these are about cognition, and we remember Albert Bandura with these theories. And another cognitive theorist, let's say Tolman, used latent learning. That means human beings can learn secretly without purpose. So the advertisements of our age, especially television advertisements and other announcements on the walls of streets and cities, they are all based on this latent learning theory. And nowadays they are talking about subliminal messages. And this theory is the base of such approach. And after cognition, with the 2005, connectivism appeared with George Siemens, because technology advanced, and with the technology, at the beginning, behavior was in the center, then human cognition, mind was in the center, and with 2005 onwards, technology was in the center. So now we are just in the center of technology with connectivism, and we are now connected to each other. But how do we that feel? We don't know. We are technically connected, biologically connected, or naturally connected, or are we face to face or not? These are the discussions under this connectivism. And with Siemens, 2005, as you remember, there was a shift, another shift from pedagogy to lifelong learning. So
2 minutes left, Professor Şahin. 2 minutes left, I'm sorry.
So connectivism can be regarded as a part of, let's say, lifelong learning, because with connectivism, all the people can reach knowledge and can learn what they want to learn. And my remarks about that presentation is this. We are now living in digitalization, and for me, digitalization is a project from mainly starting from 21st century. And we have digital libraries, digital museums, digital learning environments, digital platforms, and we share knowledge and other things. We don't know what are they, because people nowadays use media and they share whatever they want to share, and there is a freedom. And another point is that traditional institutions like schools, that is conference halls, and this is a conference hall for you, I think, in your Lumen conference hall. It is empty now because of connectivism, and they are empty now. They are not functional, and they plan to transform such physical environments into economy to be more functional. This is another project in my mind. And individualism is dominant. Desocialization is another problem because of that connectivism. People are connected, but they are socialized or not. This is another point to be discussed. And personally, with connectionism, in the introductory session, I saw Antonio Sandu. I was in correspondence with him for a long time, and with connectivism, for the first time, I saw him personally, and it was my personal advantage. And the last sentence, as the summary, I can say that learning cannot be fully explained and defined with only connectivism. And socialization is not what is provided by connectivism. And to be technically connected does not mean being social, and it cannot provide social learning as suggested. And a type of connection in the form of cells of our body and neurons of our mind is necessary for a real connection for the human beings. That's all what I can say for this presentation. If you have any questions, I can answer.
Thank you very much, Professor Şahin. Most definitely, the next time you come to Yash, please connect with us.
Yes, in this way, I will try to connect.
Next, I will invite you to listen to the speech of Dr. Lukas VALEK from the Czech Republic. Please.
Okay, nice.
Hello, good morning. I think it's still morning. I will try to share my screen as well.
Professor Şahin, please close your share screen.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Dr. VALEK, you can share screen now.
Yes, okay.
I can see that Luzmil Kamberi has raised her hand and probably wants to ask a question. Can you please, Mrs. Kamberi, type your question in the chat?
Can you see my presentation? No.
Yes, we can.
Screen?
You can begin. Thank you.
Okay, so as others, I would like to thank to all, say big thanks to all Lumen team for organizing these events for already 20 years. I was in the luck or had the honor to participate at the first time in 2013. So it's amazing how with quite small team you can do a lot of good work. So thank you again for an invitation, and congratulations for 20 years. Hope there will be at least like 20 more, but I hope hundreds. And I have originally I had a different topic for my presentation, but something happened this semester, this year, and I thought it might be interesting for you to that I share it, because it's mostly about the cooperation of business, let's say, and the social work. And it's what we have done in at Prague University of Economics and Business. We teach social enterprising or entrepreneurship, and we wanted to give our students some kind of real life experience. So we partnered with another university and they're students of social work. So this is some kind of bridge between these two fields. And so it will be less theoretical than I planned before, but I hope you will find it interesting, as I know that many people around Lumen are related to social work. So that's why I chose this topic. So I actually have, when I recorded my presentation for YouTube, I found out that it's like half an hour, so I will speed it up. And if there are some questions, we can ask them later, because some like theoretical background around social enterprising or social entrepreneurship, I think you probably will know. So I will just go quickly through it and get to the point of what we have done. So what we understand, as we understand the social entrepreneurship, we understand it in broader sense when we teach it, and that's what, according to Muhammad Yunus, who won the Nobel Prize, it's actually any civic activity which person or more like a group of people are doing to solve a social problem. So it's like people gathering around a problem and trying to solve it by their entrepreneurial spirit. So in this sense, it could be also a non-profit organization. It's not like earning money. It's like I want to take an action. So I found an organization which would be in this sense called a social enterprise. And then from that comes out another topic or another term, and it's social business, which would be social enterprise, or which would have these four goals. So it's actually focused on earning money. So it's just so the solution of the social problem is sustainable. So unlike many NGOs who get grants or funding from governments, social and business should have a business activity which funds or co-funds its activities, so it can last, let's say, not really forever, but let's say it can fulfill its mission without external funding. And as a business like this, the thing is that it solved the social problem, but also if it earns some kind of profit, the money should be reinvested, and it should be environmentally and socially responsible. So I'll just stop with a really quick slide. You know that probably know that when you have a traditional business, the profit is somehow divided, could be between owners. Financial indicators for future investments are calculated of it. NGOs should be in balance, and the social enterprise should reinvest it back. So this is the basic understanding. The social enterprises and social business, they usually exploit something which is called institutional voids. So these are empty spaces, we can say, not governments nor businesses are taking care much, not even sometimes NGOs. So it's like some kind of social problem which is too big maybe for NGO, government, not interesting for government, and there is not enough profit for a business. I have a nice example to say from India as a social enterprise, as a private ambulance service. So government has ambulance service, which is unreliable. So they kind of solved it. For NGO, it's too small. For business, there's no money in it. So there's a social enterprise who provides the ambulance service, and people are willing to pay actually to get in time to hospital. So this is typical institutional void. So there are like spaces left alone by most of the organizations. Therefore, there is no competition, but also not really like a big money to earn. One thing to say before we move forward, it's also, I think, interesting for social workers. It's this neoliberal understanding of social services. You might have heard about it. So it comes mostly from US, when the idea of social enterprise is the idea of ideal social service, because it doesn't need external funding, because it can fund itself. But then it can lose track or lose sight from its social focus and become a business altogether. So this is a risky thing. And one thing to cover this, I think, is that we have problem or situation around legal structure. So there's not, in many countries, in most of countries actually, it's not defined what the social enterprise is. So how it should be approached, if it's entitled to get some kind of discount from the taxes and stuff like that. In some organizations or some countries, like UK, they have it already since 2005, and it's possible to fund, like you can fund a limited liability organization, you can fund a community interest company, CIC, which actually is a legal form of social enterprise. I'll just outline this to say basically the fact what I've written on a previous slide, that the social enterprise is somewhere afloat between the business and the NGOs. So this is like a situation in Czech Republic, for example. Up above this is all legal forms of NGOs we have. These are just 2 out of 5 legal forms of a business. So, but the most common ones. And the fact is that you either can found an NGO and add the business activity, or have a business and have it really focused on something socially or environmentally beneficial and reinvest money back and stuff like that. But there's no clear definition how it should look like.
Dr. Valek, 3 minutes left. Thank you.
Oh, okay. So not much time. Okay. So what we have done, sorry for this theory. So we teach social entrepreneurship. We have bachelor's course, which is for Czech students. We have a course for a master student. This is in English. And instead of a test, we decided to give them a case study. So we partnered with Yerevan State University, Faculty of Sociology, and Department of Social Work and Technologies. So students they are from the fields of social work. They work already in the field. They are in 4th grade or fourth year. So they are almost, next year they will finish. And they should prepare cases from the Armenia for our students to solve. Our students had 2 weeks to come with the solutions. This happened in the mid-semester, so they had already theoretical background, and then they presented back to the students of Yerevan State University. Just quickly, the cases. They're mostly actually now connected to migration. So there were like refugees from war places, like recent war in Nagorno-Karabakh, or refugees from Syria. But there was also a situation of plenty of families who lost a male member in the war. And the solutions were quite nice. So there was like, first one was in touristic town, that refugees can work and stay together and work in the same place, like a community, having restaurant and something like that. Second one was for Syrian refugees. So there is a place called like Little Hanoi for Vietnamese community in Czech Republic in Prague. So this is like a village with ethnic shops and food, a place to socialize, find friends, social capital. Third one was actually the most interesting as a business, that IDPs, so internally displaced people, as like internal refugees who cannot find a job, will be part of a co-working center, a hub, which would offer their skills to business customers. And the last one was something like a common, again, community center for these families who lost their family member. And so there are some business model canvases from that ideas. So I think I will not talk about it, but it was like a breakdown how to do it actually. And just to sum it up, and a conclusion, this actually brought us to idea. This actually really is important to connect the business and the social work, because social workers very often look down to the businesses that they are like capitalist and don't feel that they can actually earn some money to co-found. The same like goes from the business side. But actually, if you want to found a social enterprise, and you are not basically the part of the minority or the community you are helping, so you are external out of it, then as a social entrepreneur, you should actually go and ask someone who works with a community. It makes perfect sense, and this is what happened here. And the very last thing I want to say here is what we came across is the difference between what is used as in the social work as a case study known as a casuistry and the business case study. Business case studies are usually very structured and quite clear to the point, while casuistries are more like a personal stories. And we had this interesting exchange with our students who were used to having everything on the silver plate, like a structured problem, and they got actually a story of a person who has this problem, which is actually exactly what they would get if they would go and ask their target group for which they would start to have a social enterprise. So yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lukas VALEK from the Czech Republic. You can see that we have prolonged this session with 10 minutes in order to compensate for beginning a little bit late. Therefore, it gives me great pleasure to forward to Professor ŠAHÍN the question of Mrs. Luzin Kamberi, present in the session today. Dr. ŠAHÍN, you believe there is no socializing based on connectivism, but have you considered the age gap between you and your students? Students have a different belief and perception on technology. Can you please open your microphone, Dr. ŠAHÍN? We cannot hear you.
Mute.
Yes, yeah. We can hear you now. Thank you.
Can you repeat the question? I cannot hear you. Allah, view. I cannot hear you.
In the chat, Mrs. Kamberi asked you a question. You believe there is no socializing based on connectivism, but have you considered the age gap between you and your students? Students have a different belief and perception on technology.
Okay, first of all, in the connectivism period, we cannot differentiate between people like teachers, students, and others. We are talking about lifelong learning, and everybody who wants to learn something can reach the knowledge using technology and connectivism, so they can reach the knowledge. The problem is here, is the knowledge valid, reliable, or not? So they may not differentiate, they cannot appreciate the value of the knowledge. But the aim is to reach knowledge whenever they want and whatever they want and wherever they want. And there is no limitation for the age groups. And it is a reality that younger generations are more capable to use media and connectivism to learn if they want to learn. But the reality is different. They use connectivism or media for learning or for socialization, for other ends. We cannot say something about this because the process is going on now. And the second question is about the socialization. Okay, we are connected now, and socialization is something like this or not, we don't know. We are now with connectivism and with being connected, we are now sharing something only on the digital platforms, not in a natural life or social life. It is not an organic way of socialization. It is a kind of, let's say, laboratory or a virtual environment. So virtual never means real for me, but virtual can be let's say, transformed into hybrid or blended environment, and some parts or some sections can be virtual, some are face-to-face, I mean in an organic way. And blended learning can be a part of our future education. This is my idea.
Thank you very much, Dr. Şahin. We hope that this answers Mrs. Kamberi's question.
Well, I wish we were in a real session so we could debate a lot. I can debate a lot because I'm into this topic as well. I'm reading and I'm trying to do analysis like Dr. Şahin. That's why when he was talking about this, I said, oh, that's my topic. And I kept taking notes. We can talk forever. I still disagree, but anyway, it doesn't matter because we have to create more theory. We have to involve our students. For example, I don't agree that there is no difference between the learners and the teachers because there must be some difference. And we have to create the theory, I think. Thank you very much for your response, Dr. Şahin. Okay. I hope you
I agree. And something more with this pandemic, it was a sudden problem that we were face to face. So in some countries like my country, I don't know, maybe in your country, people and institutions were not ready for such a problem. So they were in panic for 1 year or more. And gradually, nowadays, they are starting to get adapted to the new situation, to the new normal, they say. But they are not ready for the next normal because, yes, you are right. We need to produce more theories about the next normal because next normal will be how? We don't know yet. But it is something very clear that next normal will never be the normal we used to know in the past.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. It was a very interesting debate, but the conference have a schedule to follow on. I also invite you on the channel of discussion on that open session channel. You'll find the link in the chat of this session. And we try to simulate, to emulate a real conference. And we are sorry also that we cannot meet you and all of you in person, but we try to emulate this kind of encountering by creating a special channel where you can discuss, when we can continue discussing this topic if you like, and I invite you to go there in the break. Thank you very much.